And it's very historical.
It is,
Why is
yeah.
it called the Millicent Library?
So when Henry Huddleston Rogers had his family, the youngest daughter, Millicent, she died when she was only 17 years old. So, of course, he was heartbroken. And they were trying to think of a good memorial to her. So in those days, you know, you didn't have a public library in every town. So he said, well, we'll have a public library. There were actually libraries like on top of Phoenix Pharmacy, there were little libraries in different places like the Fairhaven. We still have some old books that say Fairhaven Library from way back in the old days. But when they built this beautiful building here, then you know, people weren't really used to going to a building like that, being able to go in there, and it was just like a fantastic thing. I remember one time there was a guy visiting from Germany, and he said, "Oh, this place is so beautiful. The library's so beautiful." I said, "Where you come from, there's beautiful places on every street corner." He said, "Yeah, but they're not libraries. The libraries over there are all modern, and you know, but you know, to be able to." For someone, and you can imagine somebody in the late 1800s being able to go into one of those beautiful places and just hang around all day, or yeah, it must have been great. Must have been a beautiful thing.
Yeah, even visitors from Japan, when they come here, their tour starts out at the Millicent Library.
Right, right. Yep, we have the guest book. I think I put it on the website. It's probably still there. I had it digitized, the guest book, so. We have, you know, Mark Twain when he signed the guest book, and the Emperor, and Joshua Slocum. He put his residence as the Spray, the name of his boat.
Oh, wow.
Eugene V. Debs, the socialist, he visited all kinds of, and the Japanese, they'll come in and they'll crowd around and they'll point to something, but I never find out. Like one day I said, why is everybody pointing? And, oh, that's a famous sumo wrestler. The guy who wrote these Japanese horror stories, The Ring, that they made some movies about, he visited once because he was friends with a Japanese man who was following in the wake of Joshua Slocum. He went around the world by himself. So he had to come here to see the guest book that Joshua Slocum signed.
Well, you've made a great impact on Fairhaven, though, Hoppy. I mean, even with the having everyone in Fairhaven can enjoy Hoppy's Landing and come out and, you know, go for a walk around Hoppy's Landing, and just, you know, you've made a strong impact in the town.
Well, that's why I sold it to the town, because I really wanted this to be preserved. Because I had offers from two different people that wanted to make it private. Sure. Actually, across the street was Earl's Marina, and he was interested in buying it, but he didn't want to pull the trigger and buy it, and that's how I happened to get into it. It was kind of funny, because when I bought it, I never had the land surveyed, so I owned it for like 5 years, and then I had the town made me survey it, because I had a couple of things I wanted to do, like this building and stuff, and they said, well, you got to show us what you own. So I get it surveyed, and I gained like 80 feet between me and that seafood building. Okay. And I never even knew I owned it, because I had a private loan. He told me where the line was. Right. And that seafood building over there, that was built for a lobster pound. And lobsters in them days weren't shipped, but when they started shipping them, they would fly them all over the country, and they could hold 20,000 pounds of lobsters in that building.
Wow.
That building's got a lot of history to it, too, because Carlos Raphael used to cut fish there. Wow. And everybody knows who he is, yes, right? And that's how he started over there. And then the Parker brothers took it over, and they were filleting fish. They were a family from Fairhaven. There was a lot of hard-working people in Fairhaven.
But I have to expand on that. If it weren't for the musical community coming together to help me, I decided to expand, because I only have 1.5 people in my shop, because we're 25% capacity. I can only have 1.5 people in here, so it's me and 1/2 person, or me and a kid, you know. Maybe, when I decided that I'm going to have to open this up, I pulled out the credit card and said, okay, I'm going to invest in the place and invest in having a place for musicians to hang out and get to know one another and to play music and to enjoy themselves again after being locked up for so long. All of us were. But I didn't realize how much they would come out to help. It was really wonderful the way a lot of musicians and community came out to help me.
So how did the community come out and help you?
It was everything from helping me literally build, the structure here. I expanded the shop by threefold. I added a lesson room. I was originally going to add more lesson rooms, but I added a lesson room. I added an elevated display, as we call it here. It's not a stage. It's not a stage. No, it's an elevated display. But it's a lot of fun, is what it is. But musicians came out. Customers would come and go, "So what are you doing here?" I said, "Well, I want to make a little place here that looks like a front porch. I'm from the South. I'm building something that looks like a front porch. Well, why? Because it's cool." So I had customers go, "Well, I lay flooring for a living. Do you need any flooring? I've got a hodgepodge of stuff in my basement. I just want to clear it out. You can have it." Great. I had the folks next door, the package stores said, "Hey, we've got pallets we want to get rid of." Well, that's what I used for the base of the flooring for the porch here. I had people, "Hey, I'm tearing down a little shed in my backyard. Do you want the wood?" That's what's behind me here. A spare window somebody had, a spare door, all these things, and they were throwing in with this, and I in turn am trying to give back to the musical community.
So tell us about some of the specialties here. I know I love Max. My whole family does. We always get catering from Max. So tell us about some of the
Worcester and cheese bread.
Yes.
Well, I was thinking of that because I made that for you for one Easter. Then I did it again this Easter, actually. But Max is kind of it's got the regular breakfast, lunch, diner type stuff, and then we have some specialties that I do. I've got a French cooking background, so it's kind of a spin-off. So we do a coquille Saint Jacques, but we also do fish and chips. We have a well-rounded menu, and I don't know.
So what can people come when they come here? What is a specialty that we can get at Max?
Oh, it all depends on what you like. We try to do everything, the best we can. And especially with the price increases and delivery charges. And we still, I think, we put out the best, highest quality product for the lowest possible price still. But, we do a lot of nice home-cooked meals, pot roast, stuffed chicken dinners. Corned beef and cabbage is one of our all-time specialties, and roast turkey dinner. But then we have the basic fish and chips, scallops, seafood platters, kale soup, casserole. We are all over the place.
And you do multiple things. Not only do you have the restaurant here, but you also do catering.
Yeah, catering has been a big part of our business here. I mean, we average about 5 parties a week. That's before COVID. That was completely zero because there was no social gatherings. We still did a couple here and there, but and that was just for small groups, 10 to 20 rather than 50 to 200. But, and that's starting to come back quite a bit too. We've been booking parties right now up until October, so.
That's great. That's great. I know you do a lot of catering for us, so we really appreciate it.
We appreciate the business.
And the food is always delicious.
Well, thank you very much.
And Lisa works very hard too, so got to give a little plug in for Lisa.
Well, I'm thankful to have my wife because she's versatile in waiting tables and helped me do the books now. My father's in his 90s, so he's not the math teacher he used to be in Faven, you know what I'm saying? But he still watches over things. But Lisa's been helping out with that aspect, and she does all the catering. So, I'm thankful to have her.
And your whole family is involved, really?
That switched. My daughter's off in art school now, and my other daughter's taking some time off to find herself, I guess.
Sure.
And my other one started in computer tech field. So it's just me and my wife left basically. But they still help out on holidays and when we need them if they're around. But yeah, it's not the family affair it used to be, but it's.
Well, they have to go to college. They have to grow.
Right, they have to find their own path. I mean, they can't live my dream.
So, how did the Surrey shop begin?
Well, that could take about an hour and a half, I guess, to tell that story. But in a nutshell, in 1960, my father was a produce manager at Almax in New Bedford, and my mother was an optometrist with a doctor in downtown New Bedford. And they had nice little careers, but maybe not fully satisfied, I guess. And my father was a tinkerer with wood, and he would make things in the cellar in our South End home at the time. And it was fun. And one day he made my mother a cranberry scoop, because cranberries, of course, are so famous in this area.
Right.
A small cranberry scoop about that big, and gave it to her as a gift, and she thought it was the coolest thing. And they decided that maybe they could make these things as what we call today a side hustle, and have a bit of a side hustle. So that's what happened. He started making these cranberry scoops, and then making bookends and making candle holders and all these things in the cellar. And then they would jump in the car on their days off and head to Cape Cod and peddle them out of the back of a station wagon with me in tow. I was 3 years old at the time. And my mother was the suave salesperson. Sure. And she would go into the shops and talk to everybody and smooth them all over. And my father was more of the bull, rugged worker guy. And so he stayed out in the car with me. And that's how it all morphed. So they found that to be successful, and they found there weren't enough hours in a day to produce those things. So they ended up quitting their jobs and making this a job. And then they found a small gift and card shop, which at the time was called Mary Lou's Card Shop on Acushnet Avenue. And I think if the story I recall properly, they borrowed $9,000 on an insurance policy that they had, and they bought this Mary Lou's Card Shop. And they're wonderful people. Their name were the Archambaults, Estelle Archambault. She was the owner. And she had a daughter named Mary Lou, and that's how Mary Lou's Card Shop evolved. And I'm still in touch with Mary Lou today on Facebook. And just before I closed the Surrey shop in 2016, she had come to visit, and we talked old times. And so it's really great. Some great things about social media, and that's one of them, to be able to keep in touch with people. She lives in Virginia now. And so that's how that all started. She was a little girl then, and I was a little boy. And so I spent the next 3 years in there just about every day, and in the back room, just keeping myself busy. I knew how to make change by the time I was 5 years old, and working with customers, so I got that retail exposure. And then in 1965, we had kind of outgrown that building. My parents were fortunate enough that the business had done so well that they needed a bigger space. So there was a building next door to us called Worthington's Bakery, and they ended up moving that building and building the Surrey shop that everyone probably remembers. If you're older, you remember the original Surrey shop also, but this one was a 4,000 square foot, much larger building, and now we started to carry furniture and lots of other accessories besides the things that my father made at the time.
So that's quite a route from California to Fairhaven. Talk about that route. What was it like?
Okay, well, we first started by riding the first 100 miles together we started literally in my son's driveway. My oldest son, Matthew, and my oldest granddaughter, her name is Bowie. They rode the very first mile with us, right from the driveway down to the beach. And then from that point, we took a bike path that goes all the way from Long Beach to Huntington Beach, and then from Huntington Beach to San Bernardino, California. So the first 100 miles Darla and I did together, because my son said, hey, I'll bring the car. We have a support vehicle that we intended for Darla to ride behind me she would drive behind me when I'm riding the bike, and then we'd flip-flop and I would drive behind her when she's riding the bike. So with that first 100 miles, my son said, I'll bring the car to you, and I'll have my wife drive me. She'll drive our car and I'll drive your car. And then, so that got us started and headed out into the desert, and we started heading east from the California desert from there. Yeah.
Wow. And why the cause cystic fibrosis?
Well, the main thing that we figured number one thing for us was safety, for making sure that both of us stay safe on this trip, because it can be a little bit intimidating out there. But we wanted to make sure that we were doing it for a cause. And I have a niece who is my sister's daughter, lives right here in Fairhaven. Her name is Libby Montigny, my sister Heidi's daughter. She's had cystic fibrosis ever since birth. She wasn't diagnosed until she was 3 years old, so there was 3 years of a lot of not knowing what was going on in her life, and she was on a list of getting a lung transplant, a double lung transplant, as recently as 2 years ago.
Oh, wow.
But there's been some tremendous, progress being made with cystic fibrosis, that they've developed a new drug that she's been taking, and it has totally changed her life. She's not on oxygen anymore.
Wow.
She's living a normal life. She's engaged to be married. We spent some time with her recently after our trip ended. But so the mission is to continue to raise money for cystic fibrosis. And as many people can see on our shirts, our mission is to try to raise $100,000. We fell well short of that during the ride, but it doesn't mean we have to end the mission of trying to raise money. So we're gonna turn our mission into a lifelong mission, and develop a new theme or a new concept, and try to get more people inspired to work with us to help make that happen.
So today we're talking about the follow-up to the Carriage House. So could you give us some history of the Carriage House and some of the updates?
Sure. Well, thanks to Dr. Hinohara, the Japanese doctor who raised the funds to buy and renovate this place, 11 years ago we had the dedication. However, they had run out of funds to do the Carriage House at the same time. And so for the last 11 years, we've been trying to work on that, which is coming along now finally with the help of many, many different sources. We had a family trust fund from a family that had old barns in the old days and just loved the idea and gave us a $20,000 start right away, and that was very nice. We've had CPA funds from the town, of course, and we've had a huge amount of funds, thank you to Bill Strauss here on my right, because of the earmarks of the state. And those goes directly into working with us and bringing that up to date. So right now, it's making significant progress, and we've been able to satisfy even the Historic Society in terms of the exterior and so forth like that. So those challenges are coming along, and we appreciate all the help, especially from our good representative.
Yeah, so can you give us an update on what's happening with pickleball in Fairhaven?
Yeah, I'll try to do it as quickly as I can. We started launching Monday a partnership with the Fairhaven Recreation Department, where we've lined the courts at the gym, and they have, and we'll be working with their older youth who are there during the summer. That's a new initiative. Last weekend we had our first annual Fairhaven Pickleball Round Robin, which was well attended. 59 different players and 75 different people playing in different divisions. So that was our first. And our membership's grown. We're going to be probably hitting 300 this year.
Wow.
We were 180 at the end of last year, or 184. So we have a clinic this week, a beginner's clinic at the fort, and that is full.
Okay.
And we'll be offering more clinics in August. And if anyone's interested in taking a beginner's clinic, it's $10. You have to contact us by fairhavenpickleball@gmail.com, and we'll give you the information and get you signed up.
Tell us about some of the beginnings. Like, where did you start? Where was the first building?
The first building that my father-in-law purchased was taken by Urban Renewal on the other side of the bridge. People will remember where Anderson Little and that whole Rotary area was. Well, the first building was there. And he actually garnetted his own cotton there, which was an extremely dangerous thing, but my husband did it when he was a little kid. That's kind of how things rolled in those days. But from there, he moved to East Fairhaven, which is now a car wash. He was there for quite a few years. And then my husband took over the business in '77, and he built the building that was on Alden Road. And we were there till '93, and then we came here. So we've been here since '93.
And the address here is?
197 Pope's Island. People think this is Fairhaven, but it's not.
Stuck at the New Bedford Bridge.
But it is New Bedford. So we've kind of returned to our roots a little bit, but we love it here. It's just a beautiful place, you know, to be. You look out, we've got nice windows, we got a beautiful view. We get to see all the comings and goings of all the boats. So it's nice.
Best view of any mattress factory in existence.
Our vendors,
everyone's jealous.
When the reps come to visit us, they're like, whoa, this is a great place. And it's like, yeah, New Bedford is pretty cool.
Yeah, and it's always amusing to me when people come and rave about what a great destination the Fairhaven, New Bedford area is, and how they're floored with how beautiful it is, and they tell me how lucky I am. And then I run into my friends that never leave the New Bedford, Fairhaven area, and they gloom and doom about all these little things that happen, but they fail to see the big picture. And that's always one of the fun parts about travel, is it opens your eyes. And then a lot of times I get home and I remember, you know, boy, I sure am lucky to be here.
But as far as learning music, I really never learned until later in life, where I really needed it to, you know, learn music theory.
So initially self-taught?
Pretty much, yeah.
But you were in a band?
I was in a band, yeah. And then, you know, high school came along, and that's where I really started to play more. I had a band that, well, I guess you would call it a copy band or whatever, of Three Dog Night. We had 3 singers, and we had a full band. It was like a 7-piece band that did all Three Dog Night songs. So that was in high school, and we played all the local dances. And we weren't in clubs yet, but we had played, you know, the local dances.
So what was that experience like?
It was great because, you know, at that age, you know, all the girls used to come to the dances, and, you know, so it was fun meeting new people and, you know, playing all those dances and becoming like a local, at that time, a local star, I guess, you know, in high school, right? Yeah. But, you know, after that, I took music a little more seriously.
So you had a little bit of a road to get here then?
I did, yeah. To get to independent pharmacy, I had a little bit of a road. I had my last year in pharmacy school. The biggest influence that I had was a gentleman by the name of Thomas Corey. He was one of my independent pharmacy rotations my last year in school. So I did a 6-week rotation at his pharmacy, the original Standard Pharmacy in Fall River. It's been there since 1919, and so he was my influence to get me into the actual independent pharmacy.
Great. So let's talk about the Fairhaven Pharmacy. All right. Why did you decide to create, this is a great place, by the way.
Thank you so much, I appreciate that, yeah. It's always been kind of a goal, I guess, of mine to kind of bring an independent pharmacy back to Fairhaven. You know, growing up, you know, going to Fairhaven Pharmacy on the corner of like Oxford and Maine, you know, getting a penny candy as a kid, riding my bike there, going to Oxford Pharmacy next to the old Bijou, going there as well. We just kind of, you know, I always thought independent pharmacy was so cool. So the plan was to definitely one day, if I can, try to put one back into the town of Fairhaven.
And why the name change?
So when I bought the business back in '01, I wanted to change it then. You know, I didn't want to take on, you know, someone else's concept. I wanted to create my own. Okay. But you know, with partnerships, you know, you make decisions, you know, based on what, you know, everyone feels. And fortunately, at that time, you know, it was, you know, everyone felt that it was best just keeping the Pasta House name just because of reputation. So we did, which is great. Back in '08 when I renovated, at that point I didn't have partners. I wanted to change it then. And again, you know, people advised me not to. So and at that point I kept it again. But now, you know, with all the white hairs I have and everything I've been through here through 20 some odd years, I decided, you know, it's time to put my stamp on it and my own concept. And it's very similar to the Pasta House. It's just, it's a little different. You know, we're not just about pasta. Sure. You know, we stopped that a long time ago. You know, back when it was the Pasta House, I mean, they were making fresh pasta every day. All the pasta was fresh. Now, you know, we've gone away from not just being pasta. You know, you come here, you can get, you know, potatoes, French fries, risotto, all different types of starches. So it's, you know, the menu's a lot more versatile. There's a little bit of Portuguese on the menu. Obviously, shrimp Mozambique's one of your favorite, right? So, so yeah, it's not just a pasta house anymore. You know, it hasn't been a pasta house for years. So we, you know, it's time to just make a change, and you know, we finally went for it.
So things are getting a little bit back to normal?
Yeah, a little bit. It's been still tough. It's the busy times that used to be aren't really as busy as they used to be. Again, dinner is good, lunch is good, but you know, after 9 o'clock at night, people seem to be wanting to stay home.
Yeah, well, it gets dark a lot earlier now too, so it makes it seem like it's a lot later. So how have you expanded or brought in new customers? What are some things like, do you have like trivia night or some kind of game nights or?
Yeah, we do. On Tuesday nights, we have music bingo, which has been really good. People seem to like it. We have Eddie Freitas does it, and he's really good with the people. He's funny and really interactive with everybody, the customers. And then we also do trivia on Thursday nights and karaoke on Thursday after trivia. We have bands on the weekends. Sundays, we have open mic, which people can come and play with whoever's here and just pick up a guitar or jump on the drums and have a good time with on stage with whoever shows up.
Oh, that's great. Now, what time is that on Sundays?
5 o'clock on Sunday.
5 o'clock? Yep. Okay, very good. And what about trivia? What time does that start?
Trivia is 7. 7 to 9, and then karaoke is 9:30 to close, whatever, midnight, I think, something. We also have, on Sundays, we also do a pool tournament at 1 o'clock, which we just started that at the beginning of November. So that's been a good turnout. Again, we're having a lot of fun with that.
Good. So, excellent. So it's a lot to do here at the Bayside.
Yeah, we try to get some type of event every day that we can.
So what was it like on the final day? You've achieved your goal. You've reached your destination. Yeah. You've reached the end of the Appalachian Trail.
It was amazing. Excuse me. It was amazing. Sure. Yeah, it doesn't hit you right away.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. So I left there. My parents picked me up, and we have a place in Maine. So you know, we went there, and I just chilled for the day. The next day we came home, and you know, it started to hit me on the drive home. You know, but it's just I can't explain it. It's just too much.
Sure.
I'm still dealing with it. My legs will not heal till December.
Really?
Roughly, yeah. The muscles and everything. There's still a lot of pain, you know. Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. Yep.
But your family, your community, everyone's so proud of you. You know, not I don't know anyone else that can say that they've hiked the Appalachian Trail, but now I know one of my neighbors hiked the Appalachian Trail, so it's great. This is awesome.
Cool. Yeah, thank you for saying that, Charlie.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yep.